Thanks for watching Roland Digs It. I'm Roland, and I need to kind of share something with you guys. One of the coolest things about doing the whole YouTube and social media stuff is that we all have opinions. I have my opinions, you have your opinions, and sometimes, you know, those opinions, they don't really line up. And that's fine, because I really want my channel and the community that I'm trying to build to be more about passion and not dogma, if that makes sense. So here's the thing. Every once in a while, you come across a subject, a thing, a movement, whatever it is, that seems to have this untouchable aura around it. Like it's above criticism. Like if you were to try to question it, the internet's going to send its angry mob after you, and people start sharpening up their keyboards and whatnot. Well, today, I guess today I'm going to test that theory, because I think that the Seiko Alpinist SPB 210 is one of the most overrated watches that Seiko has ever made. Yeah, I said that. So again, before you start sharpening up your keyboards, give me a chance to kind of at least give you a few points, right? And these are my opinions. Some fact, but some opinions. And I'm not saying anything that is going to cause you guys to really like get up in arms. Maybe, we'll see. But let's start with first things first is the movement. The 6R35 movement, which is 70 hours power reserve, I get it, it's great. It is a movement that is definitely a good movement. It's a good movement. Is it a great movement? I wouldn't say so, right? This same movement can be found in Prospect Sharp Edge and Seiko Presages. A watch that I bought at $400, I think it was $380 plus tax, $400 from Macy's, has the same movement, the 6R35 movement. And it's a good movement, but it's still plus or minus, which means that it can be off either more or less 15 seconds per day. That's huge. 15 seconds per day, it can be off. So that's pretty big. Second thing about the watch, and so the movement, it feels like right out the gate, the equation just doesn't make sense for the price point. This is upwards of an $800 watch, in some places $850. So it just seems like the math is a little off, right? Then there's the leather strap. I've been moving it around here and playing with it, but I don't know if you can hear this. I've already oiled this strap, by the way, put a little lotion, leather, whatever, it doesn't matter, leather conditioner. I've worn this, and still, it makes a squeaky sound. Watch. You hear that? It's right here in the lugs, where the leathers meet the lugs. It just makes a squeaky sound, and it's frustrating me. And I don't know how to make it stop. And it just seems like the leather is not getting any more supple or softer. Like I read online, I read that the leather would get more supple and softer, and it just hasn't broken in yet. So again, I researched this, I looked it up, I went down and I saw it in the case, and I was like, oh yeah, I'm gonna order one of those. And it just didn't live up to the hype that I thought it would. The squeaky strap. And then there's the compass feature. So this is supposed to be for the mountaineers in Japan to be able to navigate the rigors and the terrain of the mountains, and use this little compass feature, which I'm going to kind of show you right here. It's a little compass feature where the bottom crown turns that compass so you can lock it to say, like, I want to go north. You can point at the position and leave it alone. Problem is, I said lock it earlier, it doesn't have a locking crown. That's the problem. It doesn't have a locking crown. How useful is it really? I mean, if I am lost in the woods, the last thing I need is a compass drifting out of my alignment every time I move my wrist and the crown rubs up against my sweater or my jacket. It's just not helpful. And I get there are other forms of navigation, and that the true explorers probably didn't really use the compass that's built into the watch. If that's the case, then it's just an aesthetic thing. It's just something that you added to kind of give me a little bit more fanfare and fluff that I don't need. I need the substance, not the fluff. So that's that. And then there's also the finish. Not the finish, but the color, right? It's supposed to be like a rose gold. But the rose gold really isn't a rose. It's kind of more of a bronze or brass finish, right? It just doesn't have that true where it screams refinement. I don't think that it does, right? It feels like I could have probably like taken some trim at Home Depot and spray painted it gold and probably get the same look, right? It just doesn't scream refinement on it, right? So I'm not saying the Alpinist is a bad watch. I'm not saying that at all. It's just that I don't think that it lives up to the legendary hype that it was given. And that's my opinion. Yours may be completely different than my opinion, and that's okay. We can have different opinions. We're not supposed to have the same because, let's be honest, whether it's watches, music, movies, or even the debates happening out there in the bigger world, we're all consuming different inputs. When I go and look something up, I'm looking up something completely different than you. Even if we do look up the same thing. If I tell you to go look up this Contigo water bottle and say this is the greatest water bottle I've ever used, half of you are going to go look on the internet and search it, and you're going to come back and say, that's not a water bottle, that's a mug. And the other half of you are going to say, that's a canteen, or whatever. Or and I got it for $8. You're going to say, no, you didn't. You got it for $15 because that's what I found. We're all arguing. We don't see the same things, but we're all arguing about the same subject. Does that make sense? Your algorithm is taking you completely down a different path than my algorithm, and we are technically still all arguing over the same subject. And that's why I love this hobby. Watches should be a place where we can disagree without consequences. I can have my opinions about a watch and shouldn't have to have any kind of negative consequences other than you saying, I don't want to listen to you anymore. I can think the Alpinist is overrated and you can think it's a cult classic, and neither one of us loses anything in the process. We can still be friends. We can still like watches. We have a difference of opinions when it comes to the watches that we like. You may say this is one of the most beautiful things that was ever created, and I may go, it's a watch. Because at the end of the day, we're all chasing the exact same things anyway. We want affordability, accuracy, style, and reliability. You don't want a watch that you can't afford, and you definitely don't want a watch that can't tell time for crap and is unreliable. And you also don't want a watch that doesn't just look banging on your wrist. You want to look good. And that's the common ground. That's where we all have the same beliefs, whether it's watches or whether it's life in the grand scheme. You may be on one side of the aisle and maybe there's somebody else on the other side of the aisle of watches, but yet you want the same things. It's like in life. You may say, I want shelter, I want good food, I want a decent wage, and I want to be able to have some health care and maybe pursue my happiness. Everybody wants that. Nobody wants to be unhappy and unhealthy and poor. Nobody wants those things. So we have more in common than probably you think. And that's our common ground. The details is just where we get to argue, laugh, and maybe even learn something new about one another. So yeah, call me crazy, but I'm standing by it. The Seiko Alpinist is overrated. Now, I kind of want to hear what you guys have to say. Am I way off base? Are some of you out there being really quiet and agreeing with me? If so, put something down in the comments. I want to hear it. Let's keep it passionate but respectful. And I just wanted to get that out there and, talk to you guys a little bit one-on-one about watches. Thank you. Bye.